When you hear the word China, what images pop into your head? A giant panda? The Great Wall? Chinese New Year fireworks? Either way, it's not likely to be a church or a mosque. China is a secular state. No surprise then that China has a population of people who say belong to no religion. But does no religion mean no moral code? Confucianism isn't a religion. It has no gods and doesn't promise an afterlife. But for 2,500 years, the teachings of Confucius have profoundly affected the morals and behavior of Chinese people. Confucianism holds that humans are fundamentally good and can improve through their own efforts. It lays emphasis on acting morally and treating others with compassion. It sees the family as the foundation stone of community and a harmonious society as the greatest good. Chinese citizens have the constitutional right to follow a religion if they wish, and many religions have emerged and flourished here. Taoism is said to have been founded by Lao Tzu. It promotes the unity of opposites, spiritual virtue, and self-development. Many Taoist sayings have become famous around the world. Without darkness, there can be no light. A journey of 1,000 miles starts under your feet. Taoism has influenced China's ancient folk religions. Their festivities are still a major feature of Chinese life. Take Tomb Sweeping Festival, where ancestors are venerated and remembered, and Dragon Boat Festival, which commemorates the death of an ancient poet and minister. Both are now national holidays and celebrated by families across the country. Other major religions have arrived from outside China, evolving and adapting to become their own unique Chinese versions. Buddhism arrived in waves over the last 2,000 years along the Silk Road, over the Himalayas from India, and from Southeast Asia. As a result, Chinese Buddhism is a unique blend of different schools mixed with folk religion and Taoism. Buddhism has had a strong influence on Chinese thought and culture, and is the most popular religion in China today. With more than 220,000 monks and nuns, and hundreds of millions of people who believe in Buddhism. Islam arrived in China with Arab traders and diplomats in the 7th century. Tang Dynasty Emperor Tai Zong immediately made the welcoming gesture of building China's first mosque, which still stands in Guangzhou. Today Muslims are distributed through China, especially in areas inhabited by ethnic minorities, like the Hui, who speak Mandarin and live mainly in the north and west. China is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious civilization, and there are around 23 million Chinese Muslims. The rise of Christianity is the real surprise. Christians first settled in China as early as the 700s, but numbers were small until the 20th century. Today, it's growing fast, with around tens of millions of Chinese Christians. In terms of belief, Chinese Christianity is the same as Christianity elsewhere, but the church administration is handled independently by the Chinese authorities. Despite this long-standing religious diversity, China has never suffered the cataclysm of religious wars. There's a history of religious tolerance here going back at least 1,000 years. In Quanzhou, Fujian, Taoists, Buddhists, Muslims and Christians have lived side by side for generations. The city's long history of trade and immigration created a tolerant, cosmopolitan and prosperous community. As China is a country where there's freedom of religious belief, no one is forced to follow or give up a religion. The government offers equal public services and social security, whether citizens are believers or not. For example, all monks and nuns in Tibet now get a basic living allowance, health insurance, and a pension. In some places, the government has put regulations in place to support the production of halal food. Annually, aided by a medical team, more than 14,000 Chinese Muslims make the pilgrimage to Mecca. So when you think of China now, do some different images come into your mind?
Hello everyone, now we will have an interesting trip about the religion of China in Chapter 4. There are 5 sections in this chapter. First, native beliefs and religions in China. Second, Taoism. Third, Buddhism. Fourth, other non-native religions. And the 5th, current situation of religions in China. Let's begin the first section. One of the characteristics of Chinese culture is its tolerance and compatibility. There has never been a religion, native or foreign, that is dominant over all population in China. A variety of religions have coexisted and have influenced each other and developed respectively. Furthermore, whatever the religion, after being introduced to China, it would inevitably merge with the Chinese culture and eventually absorb some Chinese characteristics. First, native beliefs and religions in China. The traditional Chinese culture is agriculture-based. Chinese people pay more attention to the present life, to the more realistic interests, and to ensuring a religion that gave direct assistance to the life and production. Only a few people paid attention to philosophical issues and asked the truth of the universe. Therefore, they often do not practice only one certain religion, but would worship any deity. First, the folk beliefs. Chinese folk beliefs refer to some large-scale, spontaneous beliefs or worships by the Chinese people on certain gods, spirits, ancestors, sages, and other supernatural forces. Unsatisfactory things do happen in life, and there are so many times one has to turn to divine spirit for help. In the eyes of the Chinese, everything has a deity in charge. For example, there are 4 gods about wind, rain, thunder, and electric god. They have an important role in Chinese people's life. And this is the river god. It's like a Chinese dragon. And this is a mountain god. This statue is a peony fairy. And this is the tree god. We should know that every trade or profession has a divine figure as secret pattern. For example, money god, Bodhisattva Guan Yin, who bestows children, kitchen god, and earth god. The left picture is Bodhisattva Guan Yin, who bestows children to the people. The right one is the kitchen god. If one didn't make a lot of money, he might think he had not paid enough respect and offerings to the money god. If there wasn't a good harvest, a Chinese might think he had not paid enough respect and offerings to the earth god. Actually, the Chinese attach greater importance to money god, earth god, and Bodhisattva Guan Yin, who bestows children, than to the Jade Emperor, who is the supreme deity in Taoism, and Buddha Sakyamuni. Some Chinese gods are revered nationwide, such as Lord Guan, whose name is Guan Yu. Guan Yu, a famous general in the Three Kingdoms period. He was famous for his loyalty and righteousness. Later, he was gradually deified and regarded as the martial sage. He was, in the eyes of the common people, a god of wealth. After the Yuan dynasty, nearly every big village had a temple dedicated to Lord Guan. Some gods are worshipped in some places. For example, Lady Mazu, who was popular among the people in the southeast coast of China, but unknown to people in other places. Folk beliefs generally do not have a complete doctrine of teachings, and also there is lack of scriptures. For example, Lord Guan was worshipped by people who knelt before him and burned incenses for money and fortune. But there is no scripture for the followers to read, save a few prayers to be chanted. Now we can see this picture. there is too much gold, which means he is the god of wealth. There are also generally no strict organizations or complex rituals in the folk beliefs. For example, every village in China may have a temple for the earth god, but there are no clergies like monks or Taoists stationed there. Now we can see this picture. The people worshipped the earth god. And this one, people worshipped earth god in the temple. The villages would make ceremonial offerings to the earth god twice a year, in spring and autumn, organized and chaired by the prestigious people in the village. However, each village conducts the ceremonies according to their traditions. This picture about Guangxi province. This picture about the worship of Lord Guan in Guangxi province, and this one is in Henan province. Some folk beliefs have strict rituals, such as the worship of Lady Mazu. In other instances, some beliefs have evolved and have relatively fixed symbols, which become something similar to totems. For example, the image of the Chinese dragon has been commonly used for the rain god. In some constructions, the dragon was used to be a tube. This picture is about Guangxi province. This picture is a Chinese dragon calf on a special jade. Also, the folk belief of Feng Shui is full of Chinese characteristics. In the eyes of the Chinese people who believe in the concept of unity between man and nature, human beings are part of the environment and are naturally affected by the environment. So people often pursue a special and good conditions. Different locations and environments due to the direction of a mountain range of a river would have different effects on the flow of wind and air, and then on the people and events, bringing good or bad luck to people within those environments. For example, this is a picture about feng shui. The middle means constructions of people. It may be a village, or it may be a town. In the north, there are some mountains and a river in the south. The mountains could help people to defend the cold air, and the mountains could survive, and the mountains could support many animals, many trees, which are important to people's life. The river supports enough water to people, so this means a good environment. Therefore, when choosing site for residence of the living or a gravesite for the deceased, the Chinese would always attach great importance to them, as the happiness and fortune of the offspring would be affected. Second, ancestral worship. Generally speaking, the ancient Chinese believed that the soul of their ancestors would affect the lives of their offspring. Therefore, the Chinese worshipped their ancestors and hoped that the spirit of their ancestors would protect and bless themselves. This picture is about the worship to ancestors. There are many delicious food on the table. With the development of the society, ancestral worship has become more of a way to express commemoration for their ancestors. This is a manifestation. This is a manifestation of gratitude and kinship. Of course, there are pragmatic purposes for ancestral worship, namely to enhance the identity of the same clan and to strengthen the cohesion of bigger families. Look at this picture. There are many people in the temple of home. This is a big family, and the ceremony, the worship, enhance the identity and strengthen the cohesion of themselves. Also, the Confucian concept of loyalty and filial piety also helped to emphasize ancestral worship. The Confucians believed the deceased shall be respected, and sacrificial ceremonies shall be conducted on certain festivals. During the time of the Zhou dynasty, rites and music systems had been established, and ancestral worship had started to be implemented. Nobles, high and low alike, would start to set up ancestral temples for worshipping. This is an ancestral temple of Confucius in Zhejiang province. But the common people were not allowed to set up ancestral temples, and the worship of ancestors could only take place in the hall of their house. Like this, people worshipped the ancestors in their home. It was the Ming emperors who first allowed the people to build ancestral temples. Those who had the means had built them to worship their ancestors. In the Qing dynasty, almost every village had its ancestral temple. So we can see different ancestral temples in China. Now let's learn the second section, Daoism. Daoism is a religion originated in China. It was established in the Eastern Han Dynasty, but its origin was from much earlier. The earliest source of Daoism was the primitive religion and witchcraft. In primitive societies, people could not understand the natural phenomena. And they believed the spirits and deities had a dominant role over their lives. Therefore, people started worshipping them and used prayers for their blessings in good fortune and elimination of disasters. The other source of origin started in the spring and autumn period and the warring stage periods, when people used alchemy for elixirs, which they believed could guarantee longevity and even immortality. This picture is about the first emperor in Qing dynasty. He called himself Qin Shi Huang, which means the first emperor of the Qin dynasty. And he was also famous about pursuing longevity. This is Emperor Wu Di of the Han Dynasty, and he also pursued longevity. This picture is Laozi, the founder of Taoist. The third source is Taoist thought. The Tao itself is a relatively mysterious concept, with theories of health and energy preservation and immortality being included. Taoist thought had evolved into a religion, Taoism. The formal establishment of Taoism happened in the Eastern Han Dynasty during Emperor Xuandi's reign in the 2nd century. Zhang Daoling, the founder of Taoism, practiced Tao in Huming Mountain, Sichuan Province. He composed the Book of Tao with 24 chapters in it, and regarded Laozi as the original master. Zhang provided medical treatment to people with holy water and spells. He also taught people the practices of Tao. Before too long, he had many followers. This is a picture about a spell, which was said to be connecting with the spirit or God. Zhang arranged his followers into 24 zones according to the locations they lived. In each of the 24 zones, a venue was assigned for the followers to hold meetings. Such venues later became Taoist temples. There would also be a person in charge of the wine offering ceremony who served as a manager of each zone. Such persons later became the Taoist clergymen. To become a member of Zhang's organization, one had to pay 5 pecks of rice. Thus came the name Taoism of 5 pecks of rice. Zhang Daoling claimed to be the heavenly teacher, the teacher from heaven to teach Tao. The basic belief of Taoism is Tao, the essence of the universe and the creator of all things in the world. Tao initially produced prime qi, which is the original energy, and the prime qi produced three heavens. This is the famous concept of one prime qi transforms into three purities in Taoism. The three heavens are: first, the pure microcosmic heaven in the jade purity realm, where heavenly venerable Yuan lives. The second is the Yu surplus heaven in the upper purity realm, where heavenly venerable Lin Bao lives. The great vermilion heaven in the ground purity realm, where heavenly venerable Dao De lives. From the different forms of religious activities, Taoism can be divided into two groups: the Pearls and Cauldrons School and the Suns and Sapphires School. This picture is about the Pearls and Cauldrons School. The man was said to be a famous Taoist, and he was doing something with the cauldrons. The Pearls and Cauldrons School evolved from the practice of alchemy for elixir, had their focus on the elixir for longevity and immortality. They used the cauldrons to produce special pills which could make them longevity. The Suns and Sapphires School originated from the primitive witchcraft, with the main characteristics such as the worshipping of spirits and deities, the use of amulet papers, the recitation of spells.
Evicting.
The evicting of evil spirits and demons, and the praying for good fortune and elimination of disasters. This picture is about a famous Taoist named Zhong Kui, who spent all his time to evicting the evils. And this picture is about the Taoists praying for good fortune. The basic characteristic of Taoism is that it has retained a lot of folk beliefs and ways of alchemy, and has included many deities in folk beliefs into its pantheon. For example, Lord Guan and Lady Mazu have become deities in Taoism. Such characteristics have enabled Taoism's close link with the Chinese traditional culture, folk customs, and daily life. The Tao of health preservation is of great importance to the Taoists. They have created different forms of exercise for physical and breathing training to enhance health preservation. There are many different food and fruits or flowers in this picture. The Taoists use those to make special food or soup, which could provide special energy for our health. This picture is about the exercise for physical training and breathing training. These exercises have been regarded as the direct route for some of China's traditional medicine, Qigong, and martial arts. And are still very popular today. Furthermore, Taoism believes that immortals like to choose high mountains and deep caves for their practice and residence. Therefore, almost all famous mountains in China are related to Taoism. As a result, 36 cows and 72 happy residences are known because of Taoism. As we can see the pictures, the Taoism temples are in the As we can see from these pictures, Taoism temples were built at very beautiful environment.
要想练就绝世武功，就要人手长人难忍受的痛。师父喜欢喝的茶叫做乌龙，衣服爱穿中国红。无论是炎夏或寒冬，我都很向往山门外的天空。还在南方等我下山的我的人叫小罗。我左手一式太极拳，右手一剑刺身剑，早退这招叫清玄，破晴空飞燕。我骑尽一马力破天，一身正气荡人间。除暴安良我心愿，老师傅在这里。要想练就绝世武功，就要忍受常人难忍受的痛。师父喜欢喝的茶叫做乌龙，衣服爱穿中国风。无论是炎夏或寒冬，我都很向往山门外的天空。还在南方等我下山的我的人叫小罗。我左手一式太极拳，右手一剑刺身剑，早退这招叫清玄，破晴空飞燕。我骑 受常人难忍受的痛，是否喜欢喝的茶叫速溶，一副爱穿中国红。无论是炎夏或寒冬，我都很向往山门外的天空。还在南方等我下山的我的人叫小罗。我左手一式太极拳，右手一剑刺身前，早对着招叫清泉，我心光飞燕。我骑尽一马力挫天，一身正气荡人间。出高人让我心愿，老师傅再见。想念就学术功，这样受常人难忍受的痛。是否喜欢喝的茶叫走动，一副爱穿中国风。无论是炎夏或寒冬，我都很向往山门外的天空。还在南方等我下山的我的人叫小罗。我左手一式太极拳，右手一剑刺身前，早对着招叫清泉，我心光飞燕。我